Hello everyone, Lynsie here. So today I want to share with you a technique that helps open up the chest muscles. So why is this important? Well, for a multitude of reasons. Think about this. When these muscles of your chest are super tight, and especially chronically tight, it's going to pull the shoulders forward. And as the shoulders pull forward, the back rounds more, and then the head is going to start to thrust forward, which creates a misalignment in our posture. And if we don't correct that alignment over time, it can cause a lot of inefficient movement patterns, which can lead to chronic pain. And then secondly, because these muscles are part of our respiratory muscles, if they're tight, chronically tight, then we're not taking the deeper, fuller breaths that we need to throughout the day, which can start to influence all the systems of our body. So the better that we breathe, the better our bodies and our minds and our emotions are, okay? And then lastly, if you are a yoga practitioner, someone that practices yoga, then this chest opener is actually going to help you in improving your back bending if that's something that's on your goal list. Okay, so let's get started. For this, you're going to need a blanket and 2 blocks, okay? So we're going to start with the blanket first. We're going to start gentle, and then we'll move up from there. So you're going to take your blanket, fold it in half, and then you're going to roll it up like a little burrito, okay? Now you get to decide the width of the blanket depending on how tight your chest and the front of your shoulders are. So after you roll out your blanket, put the seam side down, and then you're going to come to lay on the roll, and you're going to place the roll right between your shoulder blades. The muscles right between your wings, okay, is what we're aiming to press into the blanket. And then have the arms come over the blanket, and then let the head come back onto the floor. If this feels too intense on your neck, guess what? The great thing about having a blanket is you can unroll it and make it the width that you need it to be to support you. Okay, so I'm going to stay here. And what you can do with your legs is you can take the feet wide and let the knees knock in, which is a little bit more supportive for the low back. Or you can let the soles of the feet come together, knees wide, which is going to be a stretch for the groin. So just be careful here that it's not too much of a stretch for you. Or you can extend the legs wide to the corners of the mat. So pick and choose what works for you today. And then I'm going to have my feet on the floor, knees in, because it feels better for my low back. And then you stay here and then come into an ujjayi breath. So you're going to breathe in and out through the nose. And as you breathe in, you feel the chest rise towards the ceiling. And then as you breathe out, just feel the back press into the blanket. And just bring your awareness to this area of the upper chest and the back, and taking about 5 more rounds of breath. Doing your best to feel this expansion of the lungs underneath the rib cage. And we're placing the body into a position that actually helps support a deeper, fuller breath. And then we take consciously those deeper, fuller breaths, and we work from the inside out. Okay, now to come out of this. Now, usually I like to stay in this for several minutes because my chest muscles get pretty tight. So the more time you spend in it, the more opportunity there is for it to release some of that chronic tension. But for the purposes of this video, we'll keep it pretty short today. But to come out of it, interlace your hands behind the head so the head is supported. And then just pull from the navel center and use your hands to support the neck coming on all the way up. And then grab behind the legs and then come all the way back up to sit. Okay, so if that felt like that was intense enough for you, then stay with the blanket. If you're ready to try a little bit deeper of a back bend, chest opener, you can take your 2 blocks. And I suggest let's start with the lower end of the block. And this block is going to go between the shoulder blades, the same place that the blanket went. And then we'll have the other block mid-height. Okay, so from here, same thing. You're going to roll down, find the space between the shoulder blades, and place the block center there. So you don't want it too low because you don't want it pressing into the lower rib cage because that's tender. That doesn't feel so good. Too high, you're not going to get a deep enough back bend. And then from here, you're going to place your head onto the block, little head rest here. And again, arms are wide, slightly bent. So you want the forearms on the ground if possible. I'm going to keep my knees bent and knocking in. And same thing here, we'll take several deep, full breaths. And what you might begin to notice is that the longer you hold it, the more the chest will start to open, the muscles will start to relax. And so you might start at a lower height and then realize, well, I can maybe move on here. So you can do two things. You can keep the block at the low end underneath your shoulder blades and then slide the other block to a lower setting, or take it all the way out from underneath you. That can be kind of intense on the neck, so just be mindful. For me, it does feel intense, so what I would do is interlace my hands and cup the back of my head, so I create like a hammock for my head, and I'm not straining my jaw or my neck. Another option here would be to take the block that's underneath the shoulder blades to mid-height. Now, this is going to probably be the more intense variation here, so I'm going to take the block under the head to the highest position to start. Coming back down, place it between the shoulder blades. Place the other block right underneath the skull. Now you'll notice that now the arms are very wide and feeling this pull, not just across the chest, but across the front of the shoulders and even down the bicep. So from here, you're like, okay, maybe I'm okay here. And if so, take the block to mid-height. And as you can imagine, if you keep taking the block to the lower height here, you have less support of the head, and you're starting to go into a much deeper back bend. So I encourage you to interlace the hands behind the head, support the head and the neck, just to explore here. And the idea is to try to keep the elbows wide. Don't bring them in, because then you're contracting the muscles. So you that you're trying to stretch. So deep, full breaths here. Same thing that we did before when we were using the blanket, as you're breathing in and out, smooth Ujjayi breath. Awareness is at the chest and the upper back. Take at least 5 rounds of breath if you can. If you can hold longer, just count the breath, not the time. Okay, now from here, draw the chin in. Use your hands to support the head as you come up, and then grab behind the legs, and then you can pull yourself back up, and just take a moment here to feel how different this area is now that there's more freedom, a little bit more prana flowing through here. So maybe even closing the eyes and breathing in and out. And you can do this every day. Like when I first started doing this, I remember being in a yoga class and the teacher's like talking about how incredible this felt. And I came into it and I thought she was crazy. It was really painful for me because I was so tight in my chest and didn't have a lot of flexibility yet. So this was one of those things that really supported me and finding more freedom and ease in my chest, which actually helped improve my posture and my breathing capacity. So I hope you find this useful. Try it every day for, I don't know, let's say 10 days, and then start to add it in here and there. Okay, my friends, until next time, many blessings.